invocation, we'll have John Hippelhauser from the Rescue Church on 6th Street.
Will you all pray with me? Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting to help us engage in meaningful decisions, allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of the community. It's in your name, Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call us to order. Allison, please do the roll call.
Cotter,
Here.
Neese. Here. Merle.
Here.
Neeson.
Here.
Topliff.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. Take it away.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are approved.
Second item is recognition of guests. James Jones. Mr. Jones? Okay. All right, moving on to the next item, resolutions. Resolution 2022-02, a resolution to enter into an agreement with Resource Exploration, Resource X for priority-based budgeting tools and implementation.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2022-02.
Second. Hi,
Good evening. How is everyone?
great, Arlen.
Great. Oh, yeah. Let's stand here and chit chat, right? First thing on the agenda tonight, as far as things to vote on, we've got a agreement that we've presented to you all for an agreement to contract with ResourceX to implement priority-based budgeting. As you all know, this year's budget was presented to you in a line item basis, which makes it very difficult to make decisions and to know exactly how the decisions that you are making impact programs in the city, as far as what services we offer to citizens, as well as what level we offer those services at. So a priority-based budgeting tool is something that helps you transition a line item budget, so which is basically just the costs for each individual type of expense. It transitions that into a program-based budget where you can see what services we're offering to citizens, how well they're valued in the community, what proportion of the community they serve. If there's somebody else who does the same type of thing, it provides a lot of other types of data to assist in making budget decisions to help you guys make the best decision of where we should spend and allocate our resources most wisely for the community. ResourceX is a company who's been in this field for probably a decade or two at this point. They've helped about 250 other communities transition into a priority-based budgeting software into that type of a discussion for their budgets. Sam and I both have experience working with this company. I highly recommend them. They were phenomenal the last time that I used them for transitioning a budget. We're hoping to have the process done. They think they can have it done in like 3 months. It makes me a little nervous to say that out loud because that means it might be ready by next year's budget. For us, that's really important. We have about $2 million that we need to start talking about for next year's budget, which you all saw in the proposed budget this year. But we've got about $2 million worth of decisions to make for our community. We want to make sure that we make those decisions the best way possible, and having more data available we think will help in that regard. So any questions?
Will there be a person from that agent, from that group that'll be on site a lot?
No, most of it actually will be done online.
Okay.
So they're based out of Colorado. They actually have team members who live all across the United States, but their company is based out of Colorado. But we'll do a lot of work with them via Zoom or Teams, a lot of virtual work.
If I could just add, I'm sorry, Mayor. We did have Chris, co-founder of the company, scheduled to give you all a presentation tonight, but given the length and the content of tonight's agenda, we felt we would save his enthusiasm and passion for the rollout if you guys choose to pass this resolution this evening, but you'll have an opportunity to meet with Chris and with his staff as we go through that process, if this is approved this evening. So,
Will we be, doing some public interactions where we help educate people on how they can now help us set the budget
Absolutely.
and everything? So,
Absolutely. And that's going to be, I think that we're probably going to use some of the values that are developed during our strategic plan. But we'll be doing some community outreach. I've already got a meeting set up with Cody to start talking about what that will look like if this is approved tonight.
any further discussion?
No, I'm good.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2022-03, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute a management agreement between the city of West Plains, Missouri and Great Life Midmo LLC for the management of the North Terra Golf Course.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2022-03.
Second.
I thought,
Hello, good evening. So I'm joined once again by Brian Menace. Brian is the president CEO of Great Life Midmo. As you all know, Great Life submitted a proposal to the city back in January for the day-to-day management of the North Terra Golf Course. We looked at the situation. Great Life and their parent company, Maxim Golf, is that correct? They really specialize in managing small municipal-owned golf courses, especially in the Midwest. And Brian and his team, we feel very strongly could come in and build upon the improvements made out at the course by Stan Webb and his staff. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Brian up. He can answer any questions that you may have about his company, about the proposal, and his plans here at North Terra.
welcome to West Plains again, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council. Staff, appreciate being here. So, well, I'll just open it up to you to ask any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. And I think everybody's name tag is in the right place.
We switched them again,
Embarrassing
but
stuff.
I think there's been a lot of, you had your presentation. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
I've got maybe not a question, but your proposal includes the golf course having a beer sales program. And I've just got a question. Is that where our city wants to go? If it is, we need to change our codes to allow alcohol to be sold on our public park, or if specifically that one. But does any other council member have a concern with that?
I just kind of look past it because, like you said, we will make that decision. We'll have to make that. I mean, just because it's in there.
Okay, so if it's just because it's there as part of the proposal, we don't have to authorize it tonight.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Correct. We still issue the permits and, well, like you said, we'd have to change an ordinance to allow it. So that will be a future discussion.
Okay. Okay.
That's good with everyone. All right. No further questions?
No, I'd say all my comments are going to be more down the road as we move forward in it. So.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. All right.
Sorry, Brian, get you down here.
It's my pleasure to be here. I look
Well, we hope to see you again.
forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Resolution 2022-04, a resolution authorizing participation in Missouri's Highway Safety Program through the Missouri Department of Transportation.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2022-04.
I'll second that.
Officer, let me see if I can get it. Officer Wachowski.
You nailed it.
Our time together has not been wasted.
Good evening. So what we've got this evening for you guys is each year that we're involved in the hazardous moving vehicle as well as the driving while impaired enforcement grants, we just have to get a sign-up sheet from city council as well as the mayor saying that we'll be involved. I do have some notes on what we've put in for this year for the grant. It'll be due March the 1st. We usually hear something back sometime around September the 1st. This year for the grant, we're putting in for 150 hours in overtime. That's paid at twice the normal pay rate. We're also putting in for 2 officers to attend week-long traffic safety training. It's called the LETSAC conference. It's usually held in Lake of the Ozarks area. 4 new stalker radar units. They're approximately $1,200 for the 4. We also put in for $9,000 for a speed trailer. It's got a onboard computerized type system that tracks different speeds at different times. We can then download those and address specific complaints throughout the city. And then finally, we've got the driving while impaired enforcement grant, which we've got 120 hours of overtime we put in for, which was approximately 4,000.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the ordinances, Bill 4697 to become ordinance 4697, second reading, an ordinance of the city of West Plains annexing property into the city of West Plains, Missouri, located north of Sunset Terrace for Kim Frigga.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4697 to become ordinance 4697, second reading.
Second.
Hello, Dustin.
Mayor, council, this is just a carryover from last month, the Kim Frigga property north up here to annex for utilities. I did have the next 2 items, so I thought I'd come up and give
Yeah.
a brief explanation on that one, but services were there, they've tied on, and so this is just the completion of that.
Any further questions? Allison?
Bill 4697 to become ordinance 4697, second reading. Neese,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topper.
Yes.
Bill 4698 to become ordinance 4698, first reading, an ordinance of the city of West Plains to repeal and replace ordinance 4663, annexing a portion of Highway 63 and Business Route 63 from existing city limits to Creamery Road into the city limits of West Plains, Missouri.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4698 to become ordinance 4698, first reading.
Second.
So this one, I thought we could use a little explanation. This was some clarification for the county. We use station numbers when we worked with MoDOT and annexing the property just to the west of Cedarhurst through that intersection for clarification for city services. What we did is went back and resubmitted a better legal description. So that's what we're doing, is repealing and replace that to clarify that.
Okay. No other questions? Allison, please.
Bill 4698 to become ordinance 4698, first reading. Neese,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topper.
Yes.
Bill 4699 to become ordinance 4699, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains to approve the adoption of amended budgets for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2021 and ending March 31st, 2022.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4699 to become ordinance 4699, first reading.
Second.
Try my best not to bore you all with too many details. So each year, we normally come to you guys with a little bit of an amendment to the budget, just things that came up throughout the year that we did not anticipate for the prior year. As some of you know, last year's budget process was a little bit difficult. As such, we left a few things off of the budget that we normally would have budgeted for, like our debt payments, things like that. So we've got a few adjustments. This year's budget amendment probably looks kind of like a lot. It's about $1.4 million. Most of the new stuff, things that are actually new items that we've not ever budgeted in the past, include priority-based budgeting, which we just chatted about, a canine vehicle, which we got a grant for part of that. So this is the city share. Dealing with the BS&A implementation, which is our new financial software, which is approved a few months ago. And then we also have a transfer to the fiber utility. This is just in case the fiber utility gets to the point that it does not have enough cash to operate this year. We don't anticipate that happening, but if something comes up, that fund is pretty low on cash. So if something comes up, we may have to make a transfer from the general fund over to the utility to offset that balance. So this is more or less a just in case something happens, we've got the appropriation to cover it before the end of the year. Questions, concerns?
I need clarification. Have we seen these requests in writing?
Which ones?
What you
Sorry.
just mentioned, the amended items.
Tonight is the first reading, so this will be the first time you have seen them in writing as far as that goes.
Okay, where are they? Do we have a list? Have we been presented that?
That should have been included with
Yeah.
the backup. So,
the
yeah,
packet.
the list of amendments is actually included as an exhibit to the ordinance. So we can make sure you get a copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
Memory sometimes escapes.
I will throw no stones.
That's all I had.
Allison,
Bill 4699 to become ordinance 4699. Nice,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toplet.
yes.
Bill 4700 to become ordinance 4700, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains to approve the adoption of the city and utility budgets for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4700 to become ordinance 4700, first reading.
Second.
All right, so we had a work session back on January 27th to chat through the proposed budget. It also has been posted online for the public. We have made a few changes to the proposed budget. We have $1,000 that was added for tires and tubes for cemetery vehicles. That was just a line item that we missed in the original presentation. We've added a little bit, and this really is just going to be moving from the current budget into next year's budget. But we have an HVAC interface at the Civic Center. We have the money for it this year, but if we order it now, we will not get it until next year. So we're going to just move that money forward. This is just increasing next year's line item for that piece of that expense. We also have in the electric and in the water fund, we received an updated estimate for our SCADA. And it increased both of those two funds and it decreased, and I didn't put it in here, but it decreased the sewer fund a little bit. So these two went up, electric went up 99,000, water went up 88,000. The sewer portion has decreased just in order to maintain our conservative estimate for SCADA. We left sewer where it is. As you may or may not know, in the budget, it's broken out by line item. So the SCADA line item is separated out in the budget. So this money will go there. An additional request that has come in since we put this all together is pulling back on the firefighter shift change. So for the second reading, we intend to pull that also out of the line items so that you'll have an updated dollar amount there. The dollar amount was spelled out in the proposed budget for that change. It's about $150,000.
Awesome.
Bill 4700 to become ordinance 4700, first reading. Nice,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
Bill 4701 to become ordinance 4701, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains to approve the adoption of the tax increment financing TIF number 1, number 2, and number 3 budgets for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4701 to become ordinance 4701, first reading.
Second.
All right, so as some of you probably already know, we're legally responsible to adopt the budget for the tax increment financing groups. We were written up for this in our audit a couple of years ago. This current year, we actually fixed it, so we don't want to fall off the wagon, I guess you could say. So for the first two TIFs, for TIF number 1 and TIF number 2, we budget a revenue and an expense that zero each other out. So basically all the money that comes in goes right back out to them. For TIF number 3, that money comes in as they come up with projects, they bring them in for things to be funded. So that one, we kind of sit on the money is a bad phrase, but we hold that money until they've come up with something that they need to spend it on. So, so that one you'll see doesn't quite zero out, but any questions?
Allison?
Bill 4701 to become ordinance 4701, first reading. Nice,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
Bill 4702 to become ordinance 4702, first reading, an ordinance of the city of West Plains to approve electric rates.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4702 to become ordinance 4702, first reading.
Second.
All right, as we presented during our proposed budget session, we have an increase for utility rates for all 4 of the utilities. We've separated them out because they're all separate funds, they're all separate utilities and really should be voted on separately. Going through our proposed budget this year, we realized that, first of all, none of the utilities were kind of broken out in their own separate fund. It was really hard to determine how much we needed for each different utility doing it that way. So we split them all out into a separate fund so that we can see the real picture for each separately. Make sure that the ratepayers for each separate utility are paying for the expenses for that utility. In doing so, we then projected out a 5-year plan for what expenses will look like for the next 5 years, including capital and operations, and then what the rates need to be in order to cover that capital and those operational costs. We haven't raised electric rates specifically since 2016. For water and sewer, it hasn't been since 2013. Sanitation was just increased last year. So we've got on the electric side, a lot of this is related to operations. As many of you know, you cannot buy the same things today for the same price that you could buy them for in 2016. Same goes for water and sewer. We had a work session last week, and I can get into this when we do water and sewer if you would prefer that I really split them up. So I'll leave that up to you guys.
Let's do
Or
it
do you want me to talk
separately.
to them?
Yeah, it might be
Yeah.
easier to
All
keep
right,
it
no
separate.
problem.
Any questions on the electric rate?
So what's the plan going forward as far as when we look at evaluating what needs to be raised? Do we have a planned interval, like every other year, every year? How are we gonna not
Right.
get caught with a gulp when it comes to raising our rates so high?
Absolutely. So these first 2 years are really catch-up years. In our 5-year plan, we projected out what the rates need to be. But as many of you know, we've got a lot of federal funding that's coming down for infrastructure. So we wanted to present to you guys a rate schedule that covers existing costs and covers what we're thinking about for the future, but we didn't want to present more than 1 year at a time. So giving us a chance to catch up where we're at right now. And then hopefully next year we'll have a better picture of what we really need going forward. And that applies a lot more on the water and the sewer side than it does the electric side. Electric, I feel like we have a pretty good idea of what we're going to need for capital for the next few years. So it is really 2 years of kind of a gulp, if you will. But then after that, it really steadies, kind of evens out, and it's about 1 to 2% in those other years. But again, every year will be, I think it's most prudent, I shouldn't say every year will be, but I think it's most prudent to kind of tackle it 1 year at a time right now while we're in this catch-up phase to make sure that the estimates we're coming up with now really true out.
And this new rate would go into effect April or June 1st?
April 1st.
April 1st, before the end of this fiscal year.
Well, it is the end of
That's
this.
the very
current-
first of it, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. And we still haven't got a good method for level billing, level pay for people that's
Yeah, I mean,
really
our,
strapped.
yeah, our current method is we've got a lot of people who pay $100 a month or $150 or whatever it needs to be for their particular household. And they kind of pay more than they need to during the lower months so that they've got enough banked, if you will, to kind of ride through the higher months.
About how many do you think we have that's?
I honestly don't know for certain. I think that we've got over 200 people right now who have a credit balance on their account. It's not a huge percentage when you consider that we've got 7,000 customers.
Yeah,
200 isn't really that
Right.
big of a percentage. And some of them may have just simply overpaid 1 month. So it's hard to say how many are really doing that level billing on their own.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
Johnny, I really do like the idea of level billing.
Yeah.
I think that's I know that we have some obstacles to that. But I don't know. I saw in the news this morning, I found this interesting that Nixa has lowered their electric rate. And, Nixa, I think, has the second, will have, Jeff, I may be wrong about this, but I think Nixa has the second largest solar farm. And what I found interesting, I saw they were lowering it. So I was like, I got to read this, right? I mean, here we're getting ready to talk about raising ours. Their rate was over 12.5 cents, and they're lowering it to 10.5 cents after being online for a couple of years here, Jeff, with their solar farm, which 10.5 cents is still 2 cents higher than what we are with our rate. So I think that we've been very responsible, and we have, Johnny, it has been the practice, I think, as long as I've been on council, it has definitely been the practice of the council to try to incrementally increase it to where I don't get a bill one month that's $50 more than it was last month. But if it's $5 more over 10 months or over 10 years, $5, you're getting the same. I just think that it's very responsible, and I appreciate that that's how we approach it.
Thank you.
I think also, right now we're trying to get everything caught up and leveled out, but the next one will, on all these other rates, we'll know what kind of grants we're going to be able to get to help us with the infrastructure. We'll really see what impact the solar farm has on our purchase, extra purchasing. So you guys, a lot of good work here, and I always make you work for it. So.
Jeff, were you able to see what our savings was on the electric?
I sent you an email just prior to the meeting.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't have my phone.
I can pull it up for you, Jeff. Yes, sir, I do. All right.
That very bottom line.
I'm trying to get down there. Yes, sir. Essentially, before the solar farm came online, we were paying $56.55 per megawatt hour. With the addition of the solar farm to our profile, we're paying $39.83 per megawatt hour.
Okay, so the way that's broke out is that $56 is your all-in cost to get the power to West Plains, to our doorstep. The solar facility, what we're paying, that $39 in there, that's what we are paying for through our power purchase agreement. So that's what we're taking from Evergy behind the meter. So we don't incur those extra costs of transmission charges or anything else whenever it comes to the solar specifically. So.
Gotcha.
So do we have a total of how much we've saved since it's been online?
John, Councilman Morrow, it's only been online 4 days.
Oh, okay.
In January. Okay, that's what was metered.
Okay.
In January. So you're talking about needing a lot of data to tell you what it is, but overall cost, that's what your megawatt hour cost is. So you're talking almost
20 some odd bucks.
18 bucks.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then during peak times, that'll be even greater savings. Yeah.
Because solar facilities are designed for peak generation during the summer months, during your heat.
Yeah.
Your air conditioner months, let's put it that way. So with that being said, is that you'll have longer duration of sunlight, so it'll create more energy during that period, and therefore the peak should offset there. That's what this was targeted. As far as the solar power specifically, that's what was targeted, was that profile, that load profile.
So one of the things I did is I went back because Jeff is really good at paperwork, and I really appreciate the paperwork. So I went back and looked at the stuff you had given us kind of when we were talking about doing this. And one of the things that was in there, and this was back in 2019, was that transmission cost savings, the estimated savings would be $123,538.98 per year. So that's a nice large number.
And that number is derived from what the solar facility would generate and then go back into our system that we wouldn't have to pay transmission charges.
Right.
on. So,
Any further discussion?
If the transmission costs go up, we'd be saving even more
Yes.
as far as having that online.
Yep.
Cool. So I can turn my thermostat a little bit lower in the summertime.
Yeah, you can.
Keep it as high as you
You're gonna
possibly
see it
can.
on your bill.
Little thumbs up. Our shade trees.
That's right.
Bill 4702 to become ordinance 4702, first reading. Nice,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
Bill 4703 to become ordinance 4703, first reading, an ordinance of the city of West Plains to approve water rates.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4703 to become ordinance 4703, first reading.
Second.
All right, so water and sewer are gonna have a lot of overlap. We had a work session last week to chat through the integrated management plan with HDR, who we've contracted with to kind of help us build that out. The integrated management plan came out of last year's rate increase request. So we had brought a request after a cost of services study that said kind of here's how much you need to increase rates by. It was a little out of the price range for our community. So we went out, we got a grant with, for our integrated management plan. And what this does is it helps build a roadmap for the next 30 years. So instead of trying to push all of these infrastructure adjustments and all of these new buildings and all of the stuff that we kind of need for our community, instead of trying to push all of that into a 5-year gap and then making citizens and ratepayers fund that with only 5 years, we were able to kind of spread that out. So it gives us a little bit more time to look at options. It gives us a little bit more time to come up with the funding so that we don't have to increase rates as drastically in these first few years. So these rate increases, as I mentioned before, with water and sewer, these have not been changed since 2013. So we've got rates that if we had been increasing them by even just 3%, they would cost more today than what we're proposing in this year's proposal. So I know that it probably feels like a bit, especially on top of the fact that we're raising all of them. But these for next two, water and sewer, really go toward infrastructure as well as operations. And the integrated management plan, I believe, is online. I'm sure that we put it out there for council materials. If anybody wanted to look at that.
Necessary evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the integrated plan because, we're not looking like this, we're looking ahead, we're looking at what our children's children will need for this city, so. Allison?
Bill 4703 to become ordinance 4703, first reading. Nice,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
Bill 4704 to become ordinance 4704, first reading, an ordinance of the city of West Plains to approve sewer rates.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4704 to become ordinance 4704, first reading.
Second.
All right, second verse, same as the first, right? So that's how that goes. So again, we've got the integrated management plan that really spelled out for our sewer infrastructure, what we would need is on the capital side and when we would need it. The rate increase this year, again, hasn't been increased since 2013. And so what you see before you is what you get.
No questions? Allison?
Bill 4704 to become ordinance 4704, first reading. Nice,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
Bill 4705 to become ordinance 4705, first reading, an ordinance of the city of West Plains to approve sanitation rates.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4705 to become ordinance 4705, first reading.
Second.
All right, with sanitation, it's a little bit of a different story. Sanitation, as I mentioned, we just increased this one last year. This year's rate increase is a 1.5% rate increase, and that's really just to cover the new contract we have with Hartville, which you all approved just a couple of months ago, I believe it was. The agreement, Jeff might be able to back me up on this. The agreement was 10 or 20 years. Was it 20, 15? I'm guessing, as you can tell. 15-year agreement. And so we kind of have locked in that price range. So this is just a 1.5% increase that really is just to cover the increased cost for that contract.
One thing that might be helpful before next month, for me at least, on the electric rates, there was an average usage for residential customers. Obviously sanitation, that's pretty basic, right? The cost is the cost.
Yeah.
But on sewer and water, if we could have something kind of showing the average monthly usage to just have an idea of on residential, what impact that would have on the average household.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, no further questions. Allison?
Bill 4705 to become ordinance 4705, first reading. Neese,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topper.
Yes.
Bill 4706 to become ordinance 4706, first reading, an ordinance of the city of West Plains to approve an amendment to a renewable power purchase agreement, second amendment for the solar facility between the city of West Plains, Missouri and Evergy, Kansas Central Incorporated.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4706 to become ordinance 4706, first reading.
Second.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi. This agreement, the only change to it is to allow them to self-insure the solar facility as long as they stay in good standing with the BBA, so Better Business Administration. So that's really the only change. So.
Okay.
Pretty much a requirement, isn't it?
We have to have it.
Yeah.
Well, someone's gonna have to insure
Yeah.
the thing. So they just requested that they self-insured instead of going out for it. So
I guess they've got the resources.
I would think.
Otherwise they charge us more.
Yeah. All right, no further discussion. All right.
Bill 4706 to become ordinance 4706, first reading. Neese,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topper.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bill 4707 to become ordinance 4707, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri to amend chapter 12 businesses of the Code of Ordinances for the city of West Plains by replacing Article 6 pertaining to motor vehicle towing and wrecker service businesses used by the city of West Plains, including services used by the West Plains Police Department.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4707 to become ordinance 4707, first reading.
Second.
Chief?
This was an ordinance that you all reviewed last year. The city and the attorney for the towed wrecker services got together. They wanted a few things changed. So Charles has been working with the attorney for the wreckers. There's a few little changes about time, response time, and a few other basic changes. So this is the things that they both agreed to. And Charles can include anything that he feels that I may have left out.
Charles, do you have any input?
No, it's very much similar to the ordinance before, just with some issues cleared up. And I'm sure there were, every time you look at an ordinance like this, you could find some little thing to tweak. And it might be that after we've actually implemented it and worked with it for a year, there might be other adjustments that need to be made. But bottom line is we're trying to work with the tow companies and their attorney to just improve the system that exists currently.
Yeah, I got the impression when we first passed this was that it was more or less we were just wanting to know what their rates were going to be beforehand before we called them in so that we could, if you had someone on the side of the road, you say, well, here's what these companies charge.
That is true. That's a big section of this.
Yes.
But really, it's the guidelines that we want all of them to play under.
Okay.
Some of them may not have had insurance, some of them didn't have the necessary insurance, so the ordinance brings them all up to the same page and recommended by the state and and things. So that's what the ordinance is for.
Right.
The other portion of that is prices that they bid out, so they proposed costs. And they were very close. The first time they were well out, we refused those bids. And then they brought in a second one and we've come up with a cost for the tows.
How are we looking at letting them refresh those charges? I mean, because good Lord, diesel is just skyrocketed, you know, with like everything else.
But that's one thing we're going to look at annually. So,
Okay.
And with the same notion that if a new company comes into town and wants to, they will have to wait until the new listing comes on for that year before
Okay.
they're allowed to be put on the list.
Thank you, Chief.
So,
And I think everyone understands this, but just to reiterate, this only pertains to tows that are initiated by the city. We would prefer that people tell us who they want to be called, and we make every effort to have that done. But sometimes circumstances are such that people, they're from out of town or whatever, and they just need someone else to take care of that detail for them.
the other major change that we did was the original price listing included semis and really large vehicles, but there are so many costs and that's not the normal everyday thing that we use these services for. So it's for that person visiting through the city who knows nothing about our local turf services. We know that they're, you know, what the prices should be and that they're going to be held reasonable and things. So, and that if their vehicle's towed, it's in a protected lot that's fenced in and covered by insurance. So
Thank you very much.
Is that information included on our website where for a person, like you say, that is out, doesn't live here, they could go on to see which of those two that they would rather have and their prices? Would that be on there?
is it on our website now? No.
Yeah.
Could it be on? Yes. I mean, they're part of the ordinance is they post the prices in their shops so people know. And again, like Charles said, we always ask, do you have a preference? But again, most of the individuals there, you know, the local ones have dealt business with them and they'll tell us, but it's really the visitors that come from out of town that really have no clue about the different services in town. So,
Okay, thanks.
No further discussion. Allison?
Bill 4707 to become ordinance 4707, first reading. Neese,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
Next section is council action. Big night tonight, Jeff.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I really think that Erlene needs to come up and present this. It seems like it's been the Erlene shows. But anyway, would you like to do this? Earl? Well, I don't know about that, but anyway. The only item I have tonight is installation of electric meters for the electric department. This is residential type meters. And we started our new metering system back in 2019. And in 2019, we hired Advanced Meter to come in and test current and potential transformers. And we had them install 3-phase meters, which is basically meters that are at the high school, at businesses, college, hospital, things of that nature. We hired them to come in and perform that service for us. To date, after 3 years, we've got approximately 4,000 meters installed of 6,500. We have worked hard. Jeff's guys have worked hard to install the meters, but it has been a slow process. And due to the fact that Jeff has several apprentice linemen and currently is difficult to dedicate journeyman linemen to this project. My opinion, it's at the rate we're going, it's probably going to be another 18 months, 2 years before we're finished. And we would rather get this project done sooner rather than later. That way we can start on the water side of it. We can start installing water meters, things of that nature. So that is why I have brought this before you tonight. Again, this is to change out approximately 2,500 meters that we have left. We do have them in stock in the warehouse. They've been there for some time. Those meters currently have 2 warranties on them. The meter itself has a 3-year warranty. The components in the meter has a 1-year warranty. We're approaching 1-year warranty on many of our meters that we do still have. That is why we would like to hire someone to put the remaining 2,500 meters in. As you can see, I do have 3 companies here that did quote. I have Chapman, I have Annixter, and I have Advanced Meter, which again was the company that we used 3 years ago. And I am recommending Annixter. You know, if you approve us to do this, I'm recommending Annixter for the simple fact that the experience that we had with Advanced Meter was not a very good experience. We had, it wasn't very positive, I'll just put it that way. We had a lot of issues after he left that we had to correct that probably shouldn't have happened. But anyway, I know you're probably going to have some questions on this, and I will field those questions at any time. I do want to mention before that when they install a meter, it's not as simple as just pulling a meter, slapping a meter back in its place. It takes a few minutes per meter. They take pictures of the old meter, pictures of the new meter. They take the readings, they GPS the coordinates on every location. So it does take a few minutes per meter. So.
Have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the bid of Annixter of Mattoon, Illinois for $44,000 for the installation of meters for the electric department.
Second.
No. Any questions on that?
Do these new meters have a way where you could dial and change the rate?
I don't believe that's something we have to do.
That is not a feature.
We can-
How soon are you gonna get your house
That's a joke, son. I say, that's a joke, son.
We can certainly ask.
I don't even dignify that with a response.
You know, Johnny, you weren't present whenever we passed an approval to proceed with AMI metering. One of the benefits that we have with this is that eventually we'll be able to allow customers to look and see their usage on a real-time basis.
Oh, cool.
So then that way they can go turn off lights or turn down or turn up the heat.
Or budget better.
Sure.
That's what it amounts to. You can actually see that in the graph. So we're able to see that behind the scenes right now with some of our meters that we have, but we need to get full implementation.
Yeah, that'd be
so
cool.
That way we can pass that out to the customer base. The other thing with the AMI meter is that it's a there's a poor man solution to outage management. That's what it amounts to. So it'll send us notifications that, hey, we've got a mass power outage, like last night when we had the lightning strike on First Street, we saw a large number of residents without power because of that. But there you go again. It's a kind of like a poor man's outage management. It doesn't tell you exactly where it's at until you get into the, program online and then look and see what's out. So
That's why your GIS coordinates are put in there, right?
that's right. That's part of it. The other part of it is that all the information from the AMI web base gets transferred over into an outage management software, which I would really like for us to have at some point, because that's similar to what Howard Oregon has right now. Their customers can go online and see how many other customers are out or if they're in that outage area. So that'll be Sunday what we have, or what I'd like for it.
What kind of a price tag comes with that?
It really kind of depends. I have seen 20,000, I've seen 100,000. Kind of depends on how many bells and whistles you want to pay for. So what amounts to, so.
That would be good to have.
When you say it's going to show people their usage, how will that look to them?
So there will be a portal on our website that you can go into once we set all this up. And then that way they can go in, they'll punch in what their address is, and it'll come up and it'll show like a graph on there on what their usage is by kilowatt hour is what it'll be. And you can drill down. Jessica's got pay system that's similar to it that she's using right now. But you can drill down into it and say at 4 o'clock when my kids are coming home, they're cranking up the air conditioning or turning up the heat or whatever the case may be. You know, you can actually see that in there. But that's for the customer's information, that specific customer, and they'll be in that portal. Not anybody else can see their bill. No one else will have capability to see anybody else's bill, just specifically for that customer. So
That's pretty.
there's some security things with that. So
I used to read the meter for my dad. He'd give me a piece of paper and a pen. Yep. And depending on what it said, you might do your math homework by candlelight.
Yeah.
And I never understood when I was little what was happening. I'd come and give it to him, he'd start scribbling, and then all of a sudden he's mad. Whoops. That's pretty cool. We're going to that. So
yeah.
All right. No further.
Answer your question, Johnny.
No.
Do we have a time frame on how quickly they'll be able to wrap it up for us?
What'd they say, Jen? A couple weeks from now, maybe?
They will start whenever we want them to start, but they said that they would suggest us do it on a 2 pay period or a 2 billing cycle, excuse me, 2 billing cycles. So they would send 2 technicians. They said each technician could do about 400 a week. So 200 a week. Both technicians would do 400 a week. And what they recommended is to send them down here and let them do 3 weeks worth, 1,200 or so, and let us do our billing and send them back. And then once we're ready for them to start, they would come back and finish. But they will do it in 3 billing cycles if you would like.
Yeah. And the other thing too is it kind of depends on the weather. So they won't change any meters out if it's cold, you know, below freezing. And the other thing is that if it's raining, they're not going to go out in that and try to change out electric meters. So there's a hazard. There's a hazard issue with that. So, but
realistically, 2 months.
Yeah.
How long would they be at a house changing that out?
Probably a few minutes.
5 to 7 minutes.
5 to 7.
So it almost is taking one out and it almost is literally taking one out and putting the new one there.
Yeah.
And the homeowner
They'll
doesn't.
get all their readings off the old meter, pull it, put the new one in, take a picture of where the new one's at.
Does the homeowner have to be present? Does the homeowner need to be present?
They do not, but what we plan on doing is sending out a mailer for that area, or we'll get some door hangers and go out, try to do the day before or something like that. We'll figure out some way to notify the area that they're going to work in. So.
You said they take a picture of the old before they put in the new. Who puts that data into the system to rectify it? Oh, good. Okay.
So what they're going to do is that's part of the charge. They have a program that they use.
Yeah.
So they literally go out with an iPad or a phone, they take the picture, enter the information in, and then it sends it back to the home office, and then they'll put it all in a spreadsheet for us and all the information, then we'll import it into GIS.
Yeah, very cool.
Does that picture include the meter?
Yes. Yeah.
So Johnny?
Yeah.
We're going to know.
We're gonna know.
I'm gonna do some computer mining.
All right. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Final item on the agenda tonight is the administrator's report.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Just a few items on my list for you. Coffee with the mayor. We held 2 weeks ago now almost. Had a few residents attend. We're hoping to get a few more this time around. It will be next Friday, March 4th, at the Civic Center at 7 a.m. I believe in the Redbud Room. So we'll have some information posted online about that, but encourage residents to come out. We'll have some department heads there to answer some questions. A few of them have some scheduling conflicts, so they might not all be there, but certainly what questions we don't know the answers to, we'll either make up or we will get the right information and get back to them. Would like to, on behalf of our police department, thank our employees and many volunteers who helped this past Saturday with the Heartland 10K race. Very successful event. We had 235 runners from 15 surrounding states. So thank you to them for participating, and thank you to our police department, our agency partners in the community, as well as our employees for helping sort of man different stations. Appreciate that. And finally, again, we are on weather watch for this week. We are under a winter weather advisory beginning around noon tomorrow, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but they are expecting some combination of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow. So we will wait and see what happens, but certainly would encourage, similar to what we did with the last weather event, encourage residents to stay home if they can. That really helps with our emergency response for serious accidents. And if the weather stays or the temperature stays warm enough to let some of our salt do its work on what's coming, that would be appreciated as well. Otherwise, we'll just have to wait for it to warm up before that road cleaning effort gets underway. But that's all I have, unless you have any other questions. But did want to again thank the staff. We went through a lot of budget items and a lot of items on the agenda this evening. They did a tremendous job putting the proposed budget together. I'm very proud of each of every one of them, as well as the departments, the supervisors, everybody that had a hand in putting that budget together. And appreciate their assistance and looking forward to next month's meeting. So.
Are you going to have a public workshop or a public? Here's our budget for the general public to look at.
Yep. So we'll put some information out. We'll probably have a press release. We'll target some social media to let folks know. We wanted to get through the first reading this evening, make sure there weren't any other changes that we needed to put out, but we'll put that information out there. We also have an FAQ that we'll have put out to you guys this evening and to residents tomorrow, just talking a little bit about some of the rate increases that you guys heard this evening. We'll start making that push, but then the public hearing for the budget will be at the next meeting before the second reading. So give you guys an opportunity to hear from the public on that.
Good.
Mhm. Any other questions?
So